Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. Today is basically day three, I guess, of my little experiment trying to find a nib that works with this black ink that I'm using from Octopus, the elephant black. As a quick recap for those that might have not seen the videos so far, basically, I tried two extra fine nibs that I have from Osprey, one flex, one non-flex, and they kind of failed with this specific ink. It is a very good waterproof ink from my testings, absolutely no bleeding with water, but the consistency of it feels a lot more like actual India ink, even though it isn't. It's still pretty safe for fountain pens. I was able to take apart the fountain pens and clean them without much of a trouble. Not even staining as far as I can see. It is a little bit more tacky and requires a little bit of elbow grease, but you can still clean the fountain pens fairly easy and nothing really gets stuck. But it does create some issues, specifically with the nibs that I've been using and the ink flow. This ink tends to dry fairly quickly, but not in the sense that it gets dry like sand. Is more like a little bit tacky, if that makes sense. That's why I have this feeling that it is kind of like an India ink, even though not quite. I don't know the chemistry behind the ink, but I like it. However, there's definitely something different than, let's say, the carbon black from Platinum. Anyway, so today, as you've seen, I'm trying to use a Yovo nib, specifically a fine. I'm not using an extra fine, and after I did the sketch for today, I'll probably not gonna try. Looks like this fine nib seems to be kind of the minimum size that this ink can handle, or at least that you get some good flow out of it. As a funny thing, I did use the nib mostly on reverse when I did the majority of the sketch, and then I moved on the normal side of the nib to add more darkness in specific areas, and it worked pretty good. Odd thing, if I use the reverse for a long period of time, the ink flow was actually pretty good, but when I tried to go on the normal side, that top side or the underside of the nib was pretty much dry, so I had to play a little bit with it to get ink flow through it again. But once I was trying to go back to reverse, the reverse now was dry, so I had to work it out until I got the ink flow, and then I was okay. So definitely a challenging ink, something that I wouldn't recommend specifically for beginners unless you're okay with getting your hands a little bit dirty and being a little bit more involved and work against that frustration when ink doesn't want to work with you. I also think is a little bit of a combination between this type of ink and the paper itself. Seems to be that for whatever reason on this paper the ink kind of skips, not the pen. It's like the ink until it gets wet, so you can actually put it properly on the page. It doesn't want to connect with the page, if that makes sense. Something that I discovered when I was trying to do the sketching lines on the paper and it felt like I was skipping, I was going back to a regular notebook that I got from dollar store, and as soon as I was touching the paper it was working fine. which kind of threw me off a little bit. And as soon as I was going back to this paper, it was kind of skipping a little bit. I don't know what to say. Definitely an interesting ink, but I think I finally found the minimum size nib that would work for it, at least. And not sure what I'm gonna do next week. I might go back to something else that I might be wanting to try, or who knows, I might continue with this pen until I'm done with the ink inside of it. Going back to the sketch, well, this one was a little bit of a doozy. Usually I don't have something planned. This was true for this sketch / painting as well. But usually a quarter way through, or sometimes even as soon as I get through 10 minutes of sketching, I kind of get a feeling of what am I gonna get out of the drawing and the shape of the creature that I'm doing, or whatever my mind is trying to do in there. As again, if you're new here, usually my drawing process is I let my mind wander and then let the hand do whatever he wants, and then I try and get control over it as soon as I start seeing some shapes that I like, and slightly nudge it in different directions to overall get what I want out of it. With this one, until I started to do the top portion of the drawing, as you'll see me as I evolve through the sketching steps, I kind of start somewhere in the middle, and then I kind of try and do things around it and grow from there. I wasn't really sure what I was going with that. Specifically that area that eventually end up to be the eye of the creature that I'm doing here. It didn't really look like an eye originally, and I liked the shape, but I wasn't sure what to do with it and how to work around it. So as I was doing the drawing, and I worked mostly on the middle part and the bottom part at the beginning, I truly didn't know what I was having in there. Only when I started to do the top part, or the last part of this creature, I finally connected with it, and I saw what was behind my sketching. And not gonna lie, here and there I kind of almost give up on it. Proof that just because you don't like it at the beginning doesn't mean it might not end up to be something nice, or at least something that you like. So don't give up on it. Keep on working on it until it finds itself on the page, basically. Some drawings require more cooking until it gets well done, basically. And eventually I actually end up with something that I really like. It's even more abstract than how I usually do, or it feels like it is more abstract, because the creature has very weird features, I guess. Like, for example, those two things that almost looks like hands, but they can't be hands since they're attached to the head. Might be hands attached to the head. I don't know, but I like it. I do like the small details that I got out of it. Color-wise, as you see me, I did a little bit of blue at the bottom, still going with my theme of dark at the bottom, lighter at the top. And I'm still sold on this orange ink. I do like how the creatures get that warm color out of it. And that's what I end up doing. I did the creature, a couple of layers of that orange ink. Then the eye, I did it pink, and that kind of made me want to introduce a little bit of that pink into the background as well. So you'll see me working it out in there a little bit. And most of the time was me just basically building values, building layers, and trying to maybe create a little bit of depth in my painting / sketch. And yeah, I also used a little bit of that black ink, which turns to be more of a dark bluish ink. And splotches, lots and lots of splotches. Well, not that many, at least not as many as I used in some of my previous paints. I do like it. Not much else to say. Next week, like I mentioned, I might go back to the same fountain pen, just focus more on the drawing aspect and finish the ink inside this pen, unless something happens and I'll finish it by then, if I have like a spur of wanting to do more drawings during the weekend. But yeah, not a good one. I like it. Curious what next week is gonna bring. Until then, I guess I'll leave you with watching the end result as I'm presenting it here. And I thank you very much for joining me and for wasting your time on my silly videos. Until then, I wish you nothing but the best and a wonderful day or night, whatever you are. Take care. Bye.